Yeah, so the current Christian, it's right now a YouTube channel where I'm just providing educational resources and encouragement to people who are in the church or in ministry, helping them to better connect their lives, their ministry, their relationship with God, like having that all interconnected
Mm,
together. And then also providing encouragement towards having people stay on the journey.
yeah.
And with the end goal of being all those things grow and become fruitful.
All right, Alec. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode on making your dreams a reality. Alec, just for the people who are listening who may not necessarily know who you are, who is Alec? Tell us a little bit about how you grew up, your family history, your family situation growing up. Tell us a little bit about that.
Hmm. Well, I'm pretty much just a guy who just fell in love with the story of the Bible and this person named Jesus. I grew up kind of always believing that God existed. It's like the way that I kind of describe it is I was like, yeah, the sky is blue, the sun rises in the morning, and God is real. It was kind of one of those things, but I never got like the personal relationship with God
Mm,
until I started experiencing the teachings of Jesus outside of just a Sunday setting. And I
okay.
started becoming friends with people in church, more specifically like leaders, like youth group leaders, things like that. And growing up, we went to church on Sunday and stuff, but it wasn't anything super special. It was one of those things where, like, we always had to go during Christmas and Easter. Yeah, as I started getting older, it was one of those things where it was like, you know what, I'm starting to have, I feel like I have a responsibility to make an initiative to deepen my relationship with God.
Mm,
And it was crazy because as I was getting older, I was getting some more free will and having opportunities to do things that I wanted to do myself. And I started drifting away from the church, started making some, unwise decisions in terms of like who I was hanging out with and things of in terms of what I was planning to do with my life. And nowadays, I feel like with young adults, when it comes to graduating high school and going into college, there's even more of uncertainty than there was before.
yes.
And I really wasn't sure what to do. So I went
Mm,
to school for something that I thought would give me a secure job and good pay and could help people. You got to have, got to help people. You got to have that third option there for the
absolutely.
people.
Absolutely.
And as I got closer to graduating from college, I was like, this is not what I'm made for. So it was like I was getting further on this journey of doing what I thought was right. And then I was also getting deeper in my relationship with God. And there was this tension. And I was like, it got to a point where I was like, I have to decide what I'm going to do. Am I going to
Mm,
just try to play it the safe route, or am I going to go the faith route? And that's kind of
that's
cool. I
good.
just I just thought of
That's
that. I was like,
good.
whoa.
That's actually that's a Facebook post or a Instagram right there.
Yeah, right. That's a
Yeah.
Twitter tweet or whatever. But yeah, so I was like, you know what? There's going to be challenges no matter which road you choose. There's a
Right.
facade of the safe route, but you're going to face challenges no matter what. So I was like, you know what? I may as well face challenges towards the thing that I feel like God's calling me towards and what I felt passionate about, which was being involved in doing church stuff. So,
Mm,
some people are really called to evangelism, and some people are like really called to be pastors, and I just felt really called to helping people in the church. There's so many people coming in, and I'm like, what do we like I want to help the people who are there. So not that there's anything wrong with evangelism or these other forms of ministry, but if we
right.
are the body of Christ, there's these different pieces and these different
Absolutely.
responsibilities, and I was like, I want to step into the role that I feel like God's calling me towards.
Yeah.
And
No, a lot of times I think as leaders or even as Christians, sometimes we feel that we need to be appointed, and
mhm,
there's a time and a space for certain things, which I totally agree with. But I also believe what you're saying, where if you see a need in the world, if you see a need in your world, whatever world that might be, why not? Don't wait for somebody to pick you. Don't wait for somebody to call you. Don't wait for somebody to say, hey, maybe you should do this. Even though in certain settings that might be
Yeah.
wise, you know. But I love that. I love that.
Yeah, especially because I remember hearing a pastor say once where like if you're in a position where you're like, man, someone should do something about that.
Yes,
It's like that might be God highlighting something. I'm like, maybe that should be you.
absolutely.
Doing something there.
Absolutely. So now let's transition a little bit because it really touches on that specific thing that you're saying. And I wrote something that you said, which I totally loved. And if I misquote you, you correct me right here. Right? So basically, in one of your videos, you encourage your audience to think of your channel, right? And we're gonna get into your channel, but you encourage your channel as a student sharing their notes with another student about God. And I love that.
Yes.
Or something like that, right? That's what you said.
Yeah, that's pretty much something along the line. Well, that wasn't it's just kind of like taking it like the humble approach, because that was one thing that a lot of people were like, well, who are you to tell I mean, this person who said this, they're a very, very critical person, but they did touch on something that inspired me. I was like, you know what? Yeah, who am I to tell people what to do? And I'm like, and that's not what it is.
Right.
Just I'm learning, and I may as well pass it on to others as well.
That's another tweetable right there.
Yeah.
A student sharing their notes with another student. You know, that could be about God, like what you do, right? What I do, or about leadership, about dreams, and about faith, or whatever it may be, right? So now let's touch a little bit on what is the current Christian. Tell us a little bit about what is the current Christian.
Yeah, so the current Christian, it's right now a YouTube channel where I'm just providing educational resources and encouragement to people who are in the church or in ministry, helping them to better connect their lives, their ministry, their relationship with God, like having that all interconnected together. And then also providing encouragement towards having people stay on the journey.
Yeah.
And with the end goal of being all those things grow and become fruitful. So we have like the little slogan where the current Christian, we're here to help connect, encourage, and grow Christians, essentially, or grow disciples. And it's so cool. There's a whole bunch of biblical things that are interwoven in that. Things of like connecting. You got to be connected to the body. You got to be, if you're connected to me, to Jesus, the vine produces fruit. And encouragement is just a word that I saw time and time again in Paul's writings. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I want to do that as well. I want to encourage. Yes. I was just going to say, and then, growth. Bam. That's like the sign that things are going well. Because I can try my best to connect and encourage, but without that, like what's like how do you know if things are going well? And bam, growth. There's fruitfulness.
I like the fact that you directly go to certain topics. You bring it from a biblical perspective, and you encourage your audience. So that's awesome. So I know that. So how long you been doing that channel?
It feels like it's been like a year, but I think we've just surpassed 2 years now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like first year was just a lot of self-discovery. Like it sounds like you've seen some of the very earlier videos, and it's funny. You'll hear in the intro, it'll be like I can't even remember what it was, but like it seemed like every other video we had a different purpose for what the current Christian channel was.
That's okay.
It was just one of those things where it was like, you know what, I'd rather go and do it imperfectly and adjust along the way, because depending on the personality types, I'm too much of a perfectionist. So if I don't start, I'm just not gonna get anything done. It's just not gonna begin. So
no, that's great. One of my coaches always, as he's coaching me through the aspects of just business, always tells me take imperfect action. And I'm like you, I want things perfect. I want things well crafted and things like that. But now I'm learning, because I've always been a go-getter, but again, that hesitancy in I want everything to be perfect. So that's awesome. No, and they're great videos. So now, the reason I ask how long you've been doing it is because in the process there's been transitions, there's been changes, which is growth, right? Which is leadership, and leaders are called to grow. If you're not growing, you're not really living. I think if you're just existing. So in the process of going from where you are to the dreams that God has called you to live out and to impact other people, there always comes resistance. There's always challenges. There's always obstacles that you need to overcome. There's always, naysayers. But I think we're our biggest critic, our biggest hindrance, right? So in order to overcome, you need commitment, right? So how has you've been putting in great content, you've been changing it around, you've been changing your identity on the actual current Christian, it's been changing and evolving and growing. And I know it takes a lot of work, and it's definitely taken commitment and dedication. How has commitment, because I know I'm sure you've heard this before. You've heard this saying that commitment is doing what you said you were going to do long after the emotion of when you said it wears off, right? So what was the process for you to becoming or staying committed to the changes through the imperfect practice, through, practicing in public, and using what God gave you to encourage and use your spiritual gift to encourage, and living out your dream? How has commitment played a role in that?
Well, definitely, although it seems like, I'm super committed to this now, and I am, the level of commitment that I have came from so many failed projects in the past. And as well as having a lot of guidance and just a deeper understanding of what it means to hear God and kind of see what God is showing to us when we need to see it. It's just a lot of complicated pieces looking back, but at the time they all fit when I needed them. So one phrase that has helped me a lot in terms of commitment, this person was saying that commitment isn't necessarily the art of being persistent in doing something. It's about recommitting. And I totally butchered it, because as I said that, I was like, oh man, it doesn't sound nearly as eloquent as they said it. But they were like, the art of commitment, he's like, they really think of it as the art of recommitment, because there's always going to be those times where it's like, oh, I don't want to do it. Right. You got to recommit yourself. So that, every time there's an opportunity where it's like, oh, I kind of want to put it to the side, it's like, nope, you got to recommit. And it's kind of as long as you get back on the saddle, get back on the horse type of thing, then you didn't really fail or give up.
So for leaders listening, who have a dream in their heart, whether that is to start a business, start a church, start a nonprofit, pursue their dreams, how can they continue to build their commitment muscle in order to accomplish what God has called them to do and accomplish?
Well, I think a big thing is knowing what you're really committing to. So as I said a second ago, when God really was heavily emphasizing you got to put these things away, you got to stop this, I got something better for you. My heart was invested in the things that I was working on. And we should definitely put our heart into things not so much in the sense, because I know I'm kind of combining different terminology, because there's heart biblical, then there's heart in terms of how people say art artistically, oh, I put my heart into it. Right. It's you should put yourself into something, but our heart, it should be oriented towards God. And for being committed towards something, it's we got to make sure what we're really committing to, which is following Jesus. Right. And although we can be following Jesus 100% and doing everything quote unquote right, the end outcome may not be what we want, but as long as we're wholeheartedly pursuing God and we genuinely believe we're going in the direction that God wants us to go, and we're also humbly giving God those things, He's able to pivot us when we need to and really bring us to where we got to go. And it's just such a saying that is so much easier than the act of doing it, of course, because when my whole journey has been seeing a shiny object, being God, I'm gonna go after that, learning the life lessons I need, and then God's okay, that's gotta go away, I gotta leave. But it's been a whole bunch of lefts and rights, and at the time it felt like I had no clue what I was doing, but God knew. He's like, I'm
Right.
preparing you for what I'm going to be
Yes.
giving you later on. But
Yes.
yeah, that whole thing of like, we're committed to being in this relationship with Jesus and following him.
Yes.
And the byproduct is doing these other things, but those other things aren't the sole focus.
That's awesome. That I love that. I love that. So now, where do you see the current Christian going this time next year?
Oh man, some really, really big stuff. Um, there's been a lot of like groundwork preparation stuff for the current Christian channel. We're mainly, well, where it's a team of God and I. So it's like
Mhm.
the way that it's going right now, it's just creating educational resources for Christians in ministry. And the path that we're kind of going on, it's starting to become like kind of the cliche-ish thing, but developing more and more educational resources. So there's a book, Planting Your Purpose, that I've been writing on that's in the process of being published. And that's helping people to better understand and discover God's calling in their life.
That's
So
awesome.
I've pulled from things that I've learned from in my life experience, but also have taken the wisdom and lessons from other people, famous pastors, entrepreneurs, business leaders, uh, very influential people who've started communities and different types of like movements, like social movements,
Right.
taking their wisdom combined with like the experiences I've gone through to create this kind of beautiful resource that can really help people nowadays, especially like millennials, discover God's calling in their life. And so this time next year, bam, that book's going to be made.
That's
There's going to
awesome.
be various other online resources for that as well. I really want to branch into doing workshops because
Mm.
I love working in small groups. And what
Yes.
better way to like maximize the growth you can get in a small group than putting it in a setting where people are all there for a single focus of we're here to get a certain outcome or talk about a
Yes.
certain topic. And I'm like I'm jazzed for that. Like
That's
small
awesome.
groups have always sparked something inside of me, and to think that like, oh wait, you can like structure it in a way where people can come in with a problem and leave with a solution, like that's fantastic. I love that.
Yes.
So yeah, so this time next year, workshops, online courses, books published, and social media stuff will be far more automated. If
Yeah.
that's like something I've been learning, this is getting a little bit outside of like the spiritualness of
Yeah.
ministry, but like automation. Oh my gosh, when you
Yeah.
can get when you can get the ball rolling on producing a lot of content ahead of time and you can
Hmm.
automate it,
Yes.
so that's a beautiful thing. That's what I was like working on earlier when I was saying video editing. I just finished editing like 3 videos. So that means for the next, if I have one video every week, bam, that's 3 weeks of videos. So it's like,
Nice.
that's
That's
pretty
awesome.
nice to know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the behind the scenes. That's awesome. No, that's
Yeah.
great. So, Alex, so tell us a little bit about, so, you have all these ideas, these projects that are coming up. Sounds awesome. And if I can support you in any type of way, please let me know.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
so going back to this topic of achieving your dream, making your dream a reality. You have these dreams that you're working towards every single day, and if you fall out one day, I'm sure you get back on, right? So, and it happens to all of us. So now, part of achieving a dream, and this is some of the talks that I do as well, and some of the workshops that I do. As a matter of fact, when we're releasing this, we're going to be coming into a workshop on how to achieve a dream. And
Mm,
and some of these things that we talk about is one of the first things that a person must do in order to achieve their dreams is to lead themselves, right? I'm a firm believer in that, because you can lead, really you can't, you can lead things, but you can't lead people until you start leading yourself, because
mm,
it's only a matter of time before people figure you out and they realize, this guy doesn't practice what he preaches. This guy's not living up to what he is saying, right? So we got to lead ourselves. I'm a firm believer in that. And then you inspire those who are following you to also lead themselves and allow that dream, right, to flourish in your life, your organization, and in their lives. So how has leading yourself continually allowed you to see success in this channel and in the life of others? Because clearly you lead yourself as a Christian, as a man of God, and also as a man of ministry, business. Like, how do you lead yourself so that you can discipline yourself and do these video editings and do these, provide, like, do the content and write the book? And how are you leading yourself?
I know one big thing, going back to like kind of having the perfectionism thing, is really understanding that everything really is a process. And
Yes.
I was hearing about something earlier today. I forgot what the exact context was, but there was people talking about this post going around where they were like, "Oh, fake it till you make it," and they're like, "I don't like that because like what you're a poser to people," or something like that. It was like this guy who like educates entrepreneurs on how to do the whole automation process that I was just talking about earlier.
Right.
He had like said something along the lines of "fake it till you make it," and he was like, "You know what? Nah, that doesn't." Seeing how people reacted to that, that's not the message I wanted to get across.
Right.
And it was, and he was like, what I really meant to say was something along the lines of, believe it till you achieve it, or something like that. And I was like, oh, that has a much better ring to it. And it was cool because his channel is very strictly entrepreneurship based, social media based. But I was like, wow, he's really talking about faith there.
Yeah.
It's like,
absolutely,
like believe it till you achieve it type of thing. It's not like prosperity stuff or like name and claim it.
Right.
Yeah, not that. Not talking about that.
But you do have to believe it. You have to, you have to believe it before you can actually see it. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And it was just very interesting because when God gives us these visions of where we're going, when we're not at that destination yet, there's definitely times where we can feel discouraged, like, oh man, like I'm not there, therefore I can't be used, or like I'm faking. And it's like, no, it's like God is leading us on this journey to get to that destination. And having those moments where we recognize those emotions is something super powerful, because it's very humbling. Because if we don't have that, then we could just be marching to the beat of our own drum instead of God's.
Yes.
And it's also a very intimate moment where we can come to God and be like, God, I'm not perfect. Like I'm not there yet. And in order to get to the place where you want me to be, I need you. Because he wouldn't give us big dreams if it was something that we could do on our own, because then God wouldn't be involved in it,
Absolutely.
So that whole thing of understanding that it's a process. We may not be the person or be at the place where God has shown us where we got to be, but trusting that he can use our faults.
Yes.
And will hold our hand along the way to get there.
What does a leadership mean to you?
I've heard someone say before that leadership is being able to move people towards the goal, or having people be able to like adopt a vision and move towards an outcome.
Much, man. I really appreciate this conversation. Where can people find you?
Well, if you want to find me on YouTube, my YouTube channel is The Current Christian. So that's like 3 words, The Current Christian. I have all my different social media platforms that you can find on that YouTube channel, but you can also find me on Instagram, same thing, at The Current Christian, 1 word.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Alec, for your time. I appreciate you, man, and I'm praying for your success.